Multiple studies published in peer reviewed scientific journals show that 97% or more of climate scientists agree that warming of Earth over the past century is extremely likely due to human activities. In addition, most of the leading scientific organizations worldwide have issued public statements endorsing this position. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, a UN body, states that the climate change is the defining issue of our time and we are at a defining moment. From shifting weather patterns that threaten food production to rising sea levels that increase the risk of catastrophic flooding, the impacts of climate change are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. The UN body also urges us to take drastic steps today. According to the World Bank, India's per capita carbon dioxide emissions stand at 1.8 metric tons, which are much lesser than the Western countries. However, India's strong 1.3 billion population makes India world's third largest greenhouse gas producer. India emits 7% of global emissions, with over 17% of world's population living in under 2.5% surface area of the world. India is introducing reforms in the environmental sector to create more jobs and lift people out of poverty. However, such reforms have proven detrimental to the environment in the past, and therefore it's imperative that India addresses its exploding population crisis. Currently, India is the second most populated country in the world. India is projected to surpass China to become world's most populous country by 2024. It is also expected to become the first country to be home to more than 1.5 billion people by 2030. While I respect the free will of Homo sapiens and understand that humans have the right of consensually procreating and deciding for themselves the number of offsprings they would like to have, in India, this right is putting our environment under tremendous stress. It's changing the weather patterns. We have already seen unusual weather patterns this year throughout the Indian subcontinent. The winter hasn't even started yet, and the air quality in Delhi has reached hazardous levels. The rivers, which are lifelines of India, are extremely polluted. In metropolises like Mumbai, we are facing big challenges of waste management, and therefore, the Homo sapiens must denounce their selfishness and respect the environment they live in. It's undoubtedly clear that in the near future, human impact on the environment is going to increase the temperatures further. It's going to rise the sea levels, cause flooding, and make lives of millions of humans at risk. Pollution is already taking lives of millions of children worldwide. We can avoid all of that human suffering by controlling our population today. Let's stop being hypocrites and only care about procreation while we conveniently ignore what happens to these humans after they are born. It's unethical that the pro natalist lobbyists ignore the suffering that the millions have to go through because of the environment and the environmental factors. India is also one of the most unequal countries in the world. The top 10% of Indian population holds 77% of the total national wealth. 73% of the wealth generated in 2017 went to the richest 1%, while 67 million Indians, who comprise the poorest half of the population, saw only a 1% increase in their wealth. And birth rate is particularly high in these marginalized poor communities. In order to create more jobs, attract investments, and lift people out of poverty, the governments have to sacrifice our environment. It could be observed that the increase in population in India is directly proportional to the environmental deterioration in the subcontinent. And therefore, we must manage population of Homo sapiens smartly with far-sighted policies. Half of India's population is in the reproductive age group, and more than 40% of the population increase is contributed by births beyond two children per family. In the past, the Indian government did work on family planning policies as early as in the 1952 and tried implementing them. However, it was alleged that some of the coercive measures from these policies were aimed at the unprivileged and poor communities, and subsequently they were met with backlash from various sections of the society. While while there is no national two-child policy as of today, there are state laws. These family planning laws are aimed towards politicians, both current and aspiring. Under this policy, people running in local government elections can be disqualified if they have not respected the two-child policy. There are laws in some states that apply penalties to ordinary citizens for having more than two children. These disincentives include denying government rights to children born after the second child. They may also deny the state provided health care for mothers and children, including nutritional supplements for pregnant women. These policies have been criticized as inefficient and insufficient to tackle the crisis India is going through. In the upper house of the Indian Parliament, Population Regulation Bill 2019 was introduced in July 2019. It calls for punitive action against people with more than two living children and making them devoid of all the government services. This, this, bill, this bill proposes denial of financial benefits and reduction in benefits under the public distribution system for people having more than two children. However, such punitive measures have not worked well in the past. Moreover, public health experts have said that it may impact the poor in various ways. Disincentives through denial of benefits under anti poverty schemes, such as subsidized food grains through the public distribution service, will impact the poorest and most marginalized sections of the population and worsen their impoverishment. It should be noted that there is no evidence on the effectiveness of a two-child policy. India continues to be a society with a strong son preference, where ultimately the family governs the number of children a woman will bear. A coercive population policy will result in higher number of sex-selective abortions, abandonment of women, and eventually a skewed sex ratio. This could result in a setback to population stabilization efforts as it happened in the past. A case in point is the state of Haryana, where the policy was introduced in 2002, and now the state has the lowest sex ratio in the entire country. Therefore, instead of such coercive measures, the government should raise budgetary allocations in order to ensure expanded contraceptive choices for both women and men are available. The reproductive age group in India should be well informed about the options at their disposal, and they should also have better access to quality health care. According to a study, 76% married Indians reported significant problems in accessing a choice of contraceptive methods. The availability of contraceptives is a problem for people in India. In 2009, 48.4% of married women were estimated to use a contraceptive method. About three-fourths of these were using female sterilization, which is the most prevalent birth control method in India. It is also the most lethal method, which has taken lives of thousands of women so far. The genesis of skewed demand for contraception and restricted contraceptive supply essentially lies in India's official family planning program. Right from its inception, the program has focused on birth limitation rather than birth planning. Future increases in contraceptive prevalence in India will be contingent upon meeting family planning needs of young married women who are in the process of building their family, and not the family planning needs of women who have completed their family building process. Recent studies suggest that the demand for family planning in these women is quite substantial. Family planning service delivery system must meet this demand. India is also a very diverse country. In the context of policy and universal access to family planning services, there is a need to enhance the effectiveness and the capacity efficiency of organized family planning efforts so that these efforts can address specific family planning needs of the women with distinct social, economic, and personal characteristics. The reach of family planning efforts in the country is quite substantial, but this reach is virtually confined to specific groups of women. Studies also suggest that contraceptive preferences of different groups of women are quite different, although very little is known at present about the reasons behind differential contraceptive preferences and choice of different groups of women. It is the need of the time that the family planning efforts in India explore the determinants of different contraceptive preferences and choices across different women groups and reform themselves to address these preferences and choices in an efficient yet most effective manner. In Sri Lanka, fertility rates were stabilized by increasing the minimum age of marriage for women. This move was made more effective by ensuring that the girls stay in school and complete their education. In India, the legal age to get married for women is currently 18 years. It should be increased and women's education should be prioritized and incentivized. Various studies in India have demonstrated that there is a direct correlation between education and number of offsprings an individual has. Thus, educating its population is undoubtedly of utmost importance. Women's education and workforce participation are critical for ensuring that the girls take up higher education, become part of the workforce and the economy. This way, we can reduce the stress on our environment and our habitat and significantly reduce human suffering as well as reverse India's population trend for a sustainable future. Thank you.